Good evening, everyone. Australia is an ancient country and a young nation. In the years since British settlement, many have come here seeking peace, prosperity, and in some cases, fortune. The numbers seeking fortune increased rapidly after 1851, the year in which the first Australian gold rush began. Goldfields opened up across country New South Wales and country Victoria, including in a town in New South Wales known then as Lambing Flat and now as Young in the New South Wales Riverina district. The Lambing Flat Riot of June 30, 1861, remains to this day the largest single civil disturbance in post-settlement Australian history. Fueled largely by resentment at the simple fact that the Chinese miners were better at mining for gold than they were themselves, thousands of white miners descended upon the Chinese, some on horseback, and what followed is the stuff of nightmares. Driven from their homes with murderous violence, the Lambing Flat Riots precipitated the New South Wales government passing the Chinese Immigration Act of November of that very same year. And so, the foundations for Australia's White Australia policy and for much anti-Chinese sentiment was laid. Some years before all of this, in the late 1850s, a young member of the Royal Irish Constabulary, one Michael O'Dwyer, left his home in Sneem, County Kerry, and emigrated to Australia. Based first in country Victoria, after a time O'Dwyer moved to New South Wales where he joined the Royal Mounted Police. Based then in Sydney, he was dispatched in short order to quell the riots at Lambing Flat. Arriving after the worst of it, O'Dwyer was put in charge of a group of Chinese prisoners being marched on foot and in chains for over 250 kilometers from Lambing Flat to Goulburn. Waiting until they were well and truly out of sight of the township of Lambing Flat, O'Dwyer ordered that the chains be removed from the Chinese prisoners so that their long and horrible march to Goulburn might be less horrible in part. And for many years afterwards, every Christmas, O'Dwyer and his young family would receive jars of ginger from China. A thank you, you see, from the surviving Chinese prisoners and their families. And by all accounts, Royal Mounted Police Officer O'Dwyer was a kind, fair, and decent man. And he was also my great-grandfather. It is worth pausing here, I think, to consider what might have been. What might have been if the white miners had put aside their resentment and hatred for long enough to learn a thing or two from the Chinese? You see, whereas the white miners worked largely individually, for the most part, the Chinese worked in large cooperative groups. By sharing their resources, food, shelter, labor, and gold alike, the Chinese managed serious tracts of land in short order. Indeed, they operated much as a large mining conglomerate might operate today. Think again of what might have been if the white miners had, after learning from the Chinese, joined in with them and cooperated. I don't think it's hyperbole to suggest that had they done so, then the winds of political will in Australia at the time might well have blown in directions very different from that in which they blew. And had this been the case in turn, then both Australia and the Asia-Pacific as a whole might be very different places from how we see them today. Think again for just a moment of the opportunities that this affords us. As we look at the situation in which we're in today with the Chinese and Australia, and with the fantastic moves forward with technology, I don't think it's hyperbole to suggest that history might perhaps be offering us a second chance. History is offering us a second chance for the following very simple reasons. The 21st century is one in which information is the new gold. And the 21st century is Asia's through and through. And here, in this new Asian century, it is information that is the new gold. And in this new Asian century, the landscapes of data that we mine for this information are vast, and the machines that calculate this data and refine the information for us are unfathomably complicated, and they perform an unfathomable number of computations. And these machines are made of many precious things, with gold itself amongst these. And these many precious things that constitute these amazing machines are found here in Australia. And so, in the most curious of ways, we find our thoughts returning to the goldfields of Lambing Flat. And as I said before, history is offering that most precious of things, more precious than the gold over which the riots were fought. History is offering us a second chance. And this time, we have to get it right. We will get it right only by listening and learning together at the same table as friends. Only then may our great-grandchildren and those that follow them be able to look back at us with the gratitude that we owe them the opportunity to have. And here, in universities, it's our students that embody the best attributes of the future. Our students come to us from across our cities and from around the world, and they come to us with their hopes and dreams. And our obligation is to see to it that those dreams can be realized. And our duty also is to stare down those whose voices would see those dreams destroyed. I can speak on this, I think, with some authority. Over the last decade, I have taught some 10,000 international students. And for the decade before this, I was an international student myself. And I have seen and lived firsthand the wonder that is the becoming of a new person in the currents of a rich, international, cosmopolitan life. Now is not the time for Australia to be pulling up its drawbridge. The voices against international students are ugly, repulsive, and very foolish. We must act. We will need all of our energy, and then some, if we are to stare down the rising voices of anti-globalist nativism. Its seduction is strong, and it excites our basest passions. So we must act. But it is not enough that we invite the world students here as our own. We must send Australian students across whole swaths of willing and able universities in the Asia Pacific so that they may learn and live amongst communities across our entire region. This will not be cheap. We will need to put together, organize, and fund a serious, long-lasting system of scholarships to enable this. I know that Australia and her great universities have the courage and strength of character to lead here by example. We are rich, we can afford it. And if history is to give us any lessons, we cannot afford to do otherwise.